You guys remember the scene probably. It's one of the first things that you hear Chip say. But one of my line readings was, his mustache tickles mama. And the whole booth started laughing. And I didn't understand why, because I was a 6-year-old boy. And I said, what's so funny? And they said, we'll tell you when you're older.
Let's make sure we give a big welcome to Bradley Pierce, Dave B. Mitchell, and Colleen O'Shaughnessey.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, I was going to say that.
Hey, everybody.
How's everybody?
Hey, everybody.
Whatever, we've all got the same line, I guess.
All together now. Hey, everybody.
She missed it. That's okay, though.
I was doing something.
All right, so anybody out there who doesn't know, my name is Bradley Pierce. I was the original voice of Tails in the Sadam and Adventures cartoons.
I am Dave B. Mitchell. I am the current voice of Knuckles in all the games. I have been the voice of Knuckles since 2019, Team Sonic Racing, and I am the current voice of everything since then.
I'm Colleen O'Shaughnessey. I am the current voice of Tails. I've been voicing Tails for 10 years now, which is awesome. So every game since 2014, Sonic Boom, the movies, very exciting, and all the games. So everything, thank you. Everything except for Sonic Prime, because I'm not Canadian. So.
But you are a movie star.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, this is like a rolly thing. This is so fun. I can lounge.
Oh, don't do that. You'll go to sleep.
No sleeping. No sleeping on the panel. That's the rule.
Not till Brooklyn, anyway.
So, what is? What are we just riffing? What are we doing?
We generally start, open up with a Q&A. You guys can talk about anything you want. I'll get us started, though, while people are lining up. What were your relationships to Sonic before you became a voice of Sonic? Did you play the games, or were you familiar with the characters beforehand?
I'll start. I had played the original Sonic game and Sonic 2, which were the only ones that were out at the time. I had also read some of the comics. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of Sonic to be into when we first started. So there we go.
Yeah, I was obviously aware of Sonic. It's a big franchise. And I'm old, so I was around for all that. But I hadn't played it just because I never had the systems it was on. So the original, like the Genesis and all, I didn't have those systems. So I didn't get a chance to play the game. So when I came in, I'm like, oh, cool, Knuckles, Sonic, this is kind of a big deal. I had no idea what a huge deal it was, and all of you, and it's been such a hugely positive thing in my life. And, thanks to all of you for that, and just happy to be part of it.
So the games came out when I was in school, so I wasn't playing video games. I was doing school. My first, of course I'd heard of it, but I wasn't playing video games at the time. So my first foray into the Sonic world was Charmy Bee, and I want to say that was like 2010. And was Colors first or Generations first? Do you guys know? Generations? Came before? Okay, so that Colors then Generations. So I am not. I'm wearing my Tails shirt. I wore my Charmy shirt the last time. Yeah. I was Charmy Bee first. And then when Sonic Boom they were auditioning for Sonic Boom, I auditioned and I got called back for both Tails and Sticks. And then I met Kate Higgins at the callback. And I didn't know that she was Tails. Because when you go in for a video game, you're there by yourself. And you don't always know who else is on the game, or you go in, you do your job, you go home and walk your dogs and take your kids to school and do all the, the other normal things that you do in your life that are not in a recording studio. So I didn't know that Kate Higgins was Tails, and I saw her at the callback, but I had known her for a long time. So anyway, she gave me her blessing, which was nice, because I was like, oh, I won't go audition for your part. I have no idea. And she's like, no, it's okay. And then here we are, 10 years later. Yay.
So, okay, does anybody have a question? You guys want to line up and talk to them? Don't be bashful.
Hello.
Or any of the other 7
Hello
dwarves.
there.
I have a question for each one of you.
Right.
How much of an imitation were you doing of the person that you succeeded when you started doing the role? And I guess for Bradley, since the role hadn't been done before, where did you get your inspiration for the voice?
This is an excellent question.
It is. So Tails was sort of a higher energy, faster version of the kid that I really was. It was the me on high doses of sugar. I guess the Red Bull version of me now. But as far as the character itself, he was pretty well developed. They had a really good idea of who they wanted him to be and how they wanted him to behave. So the voice was just kind of a fast, kind of gravelly, kind of squeaky version of who I was then. I can still do the voice, kind of, but not really as well as I did when I was 11 years old.
Well, you're like 137 now, right? So
Almost, yeah. The blood keeps me younger, though, so it's nice. But yeah, so as originating that character, it was literally just a version of myself. Anytime that I've created a character, it's like playing with an equalizer on a stereo. You can choose whether you want more bass or more treble or more energy or more intelligence, whatever. You adjust your levels to create a character. It's still me. It's just a different version.
I am totally stealing that analogy, by the way.
Keep
That's
it,
great.
it's yours.
That's
It's a good
great.
one.
And that's really great. Actually, I mean, it's a great question. And because for me, most of us now, or at least quite a few of us, because the game's been around for so long, we're, multiple actors deep into the characters. So when I came in, our director, Jack Fletcher, who we all just adore, actually, when Travis decided to leave, Jack was the one that brought me in and said, "Oh, we think you would be a good next step after Travis." And I've been friends with Travis for a long time. So I came in and basically listened to him and kind of imitated what he was doing. And so for the first 2 games that I was in, which were Team Sonic Racing and Mario Sonic Olympics 2020, they're much more kind of arcadey. There's not really a lot of character or story going on. It's a lot of jumping around and driving and doing stuff. So pretty heavily leaning on Travis's performance, because you got to keep the continuity of the character everybody knows. When it came to Frontiers, they told me up front, they said, this is going to be a different take on Knuckles. He's going to be more grounded, a little bit darker, a little grittier, more adult, with a lot more character development story, and which I loved about Frontiers. I think we all loved that about Frontiers, how much story there was and how much character development. And even with the prologue, the animated prologue we did, I feel like we got to see a lot more of Knuckles' personality than we had seen for a long time, and really kind of develop him. And so that was the first point at which I kind of got to bring my own thing with their direction, obviously, but my own kind of spin on Knuckles. And from that point forward, they said, yeah, your version of Knuckles is Knuckles now. So, but it definitely started off just trying to honor what Travis had established, because what he did was great, and also, all of you expected to hear a certain thing from Knuckles because the character was established. With Frontiers, I feel like we were able to grow that and now kind of let it morph into where I'm at. So, which is still informed by Dan and by Scott and by all the people that did them before me, but it's all still Knuckles, if that makes sense.
So I didn't even know Kate was Tails. So no, I did not do an imitation. So I was auditioning for Sonic Boom, and for me, I love to have a picture. So I'm sure I had a picture of Tails, or I could have looked it up or whatever. But they give you a description, and so I take those things that I'm given, and I'm a very visual person, so pictures work great for me. And I do love to have a description too. Like it's good to know that, he's a genius. He's an inventor. He's Sonic's best friend. He's all of these things that we know and love about Tails. And so I take those things and I know, oh, okay, he's an 8-year-old boy. Got it. And I just I read the script and then I give them what my best version of that, what I think that is. And so then I got called back for it, and then I booked it. We did a game first, and then we started working on Sonic Boom. And I'm sure that he has evolved over time, because like my impressions of what my impression of Tails was, and what he already was, and what they brought to it, depending on whether it was a game or Sonic Boom or the movies. My approach to Tails was always the same, but I'm led in a different direction depending on what circumstances he finds himself in. So, and we have these wonderful directors and wonderful writers, and so it's such a collaborative thing. Like, I probably, if you listen to the first episode of Sonic Boom and you listen to the last one, he probably sounds different. I've not done that. I don't know. But he probably does, just because, you get more and more information about the character, and you grow as he grows, and he becomes fully fledged by the end. So
I feel like too, the writers, as was something we do over time, they get to know us. And I feel like they kind of, a lot of the times the writers will dial in a little more of our personality or kind of what's unique to us into the character, and we kind of grow it together. So
I don't think they did that for me, but I'm just kidding. I don't know.
But it happens.
I do know that in Sonic Boom they put the most technical, longest words possible in the script just to trip me up. But it was very funny. They definitely did that. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Yeah, great question. Thanks.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, friend.
So I actually have two questions, one for Bradley and one for Dave and Colleen. So first for Bradley. When Sonic SatAM was sadly canceled because of ABC's meddling and losing the ratings battle with the Power Rangers, over the years, have you heard anything about Ben Hurst's plans for season 3 going forward?
No, I have not heard anything about it coming back. Unfortunately, because that particular story arc would have been really cool to follow.
Yeah, there were plans for like Ixis Nagas to come back, Snively joining the Freedom Fighters, Tails coming into his own, Knuckles showing up. A lot of that did happen in the comics, and there's a group on YouTube trying to do a fan-made third season, if you will.
If such a thing were to exist, I would love to be a part of it in some capacity, but all they got to do is ask. And
that would be great.
And until then, I'm enjoying watching what they are putting out. The comics were great that covered what could have been a third season. So I think there's a lot of great ideas there, and hopefully they do something with it.
Tails coming into his own, with the whole Drudhenge thing, and trying to, him not having to rely on Sonic so much.
Yep, and then Sonic also being able to take better care of himself and not have to have Tails pulling him out of the situations all the time.
And my question for Dave and Colleen is actually in reference to the Twitter takeovers. For, I think it was Sonic Superstars, it was mentioned that Knuckles is not allowed unsupervised on the internet anymore due to the incident. Dare I ask, what was the incident?
We don't talk about that.
There's no talking about the incident. Those are the most fun days ever. And those guys work their patooties off. We just go and have a blast. We're hanging out together because we don't often get to work together in the same room. And so it is so much fun. Every time I hear we're going to do another one, I'm like, yay, when do I get to go? I will clear any part of my schedule. I will be there all day. And it's so much fun. We just hang out. They are madly picking questions and writing.
Writers just churning away back there.
Sending to us, and then we just go and and then we do it, and we just take a break.
and something I can tell you that one of the reasons it's so much fun is that all of us are actually friends. We are all actually friends. We all genuinely like each other. So the Sonic Cast, we're friends. We like each other. We love hanging out together. So we have so much fun doing those takeovers. We really do.
Side note, my favorite part of any of the takeovers is Tails' mint addiction. You ended up with 6 mint tins on the floor.
Yes, it's funny.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
I was wondering why, if there was a way for you guys to change how Walt Disney is treating all of you guys, in any mind thing that you would like to see change.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
the way your work compact is, if it's a 2-day schedule, would you want to negotiate it to maybe a week?
I will say that most of that happens either collectively with everybody who's involved. That's where, multiple SAG strikes have happened in the last couple of years, to try to shift some of those structures that are in place. But the other piece of it is, unfortunately, we are all working for somebody. Even if we want
way
to.
above our pay grade for the most part. Yeah.
We got to follow their structure, their rules, their schedules, because
But would you want to see it change so you've got some lead? Like, hey, you need me and I need you. Let's negotiate and get it.
At least for me, I like the idea of being able to go in, do my job to the best of my ability, and leave it alone. I don't really want to be in control of anything beyond that. It's just too much.
I'm barely in control of the things I am in control of. So, yeah.
Well, and the way that we work too is most of the time, like even if it's a game or whatever, we might get one day on the game and that's it. And we don't hear about it again sometimes it takes 2 years for a game to come out. It just depends. And so, but if it's a show, even if it's a show that you would do every week, where are those days? But where that you would get to do every week, like when we were working on Sonic Boom was every Thursday from 2 to 6. Best day of my week. But every Thursday from 2 to 6. But, say whatever, if Tails isn't in that episode, I don't go that Thursday. I think he was in every episode. I don't know. But so we are day players. That's what they call us. They call us day players. We basically audition for so like if you have a job that you work 5 days a week, imagine having to go and have a job interview for every single day of that week. Every job that we do, pretty much, we have to do an audition for it. And there's no guarantees. It's show business. It's not show friends. So it's, I love what I do. I absolutely do. And, we're a part of a union, which is great, that protects us as much as it can. But we're kind of... We're like carnival workers, like we're like go from town to town, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How did you get into voice acting?
Great question. Sure. So I did musical theater. Started when I was like about 12 years old, and I did it all through high school. And I was at the University of Michigan. I was doing musical theater and psychology. It was a lot of school, but I always just did voices. I would always give voices to babies or animals or whatever, and voices would just kind of come out. And so a teacher overheard me doing something. We were talking about a test or something, and I don't know what I was doing, but she came over and she's like, "Was that you?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, it just happened." She said, No, you need to do voiceover. And I was like, it was like a light bulb. It never even occurred to me that was somebody's job. And I always watched cartoons and The Wonderful World of Disney and The Muppets, and I went around my house being Captain Caveman, and it was like, Captain Caveman. That's all I did growing up. It was like, who knew? I was like rehearsing my whole childhood for my future career. But once somebody said that was it for me. And moved to Los Angeles and just kept bugging people till they let me do it.
Yeah, that's you're going to get a similar answer, I think, from a lot of us that do this, that we were the kids that were always doing characters and voices. And for me, I was in theater and music all through school, and I loved both of them. And when I went to college, I actually went for music, but I was still acting. And at some point, I figured out, there's actually a way to like Colleen said, like actually do this. And I'd always had a really good ear for accents and characters and things like that. So it was kind of like, there's a thing where you can do this. And I just sort of busted my butt for a lot of years and pursued things and worked really hard. And here I am. I mean, that's the super short version, but it's pretty common to most of us. You'll get an answer similar to that.
Mine is probably going to be the most different answer you're ever going to hear, because I started acting in general when I was about 7 years old. My first voiceover job was probably about 6 months into that. It started out with some TV commercials and stuff like that. And at the time, the audition process was basically the same, whether it was voiceover or whether it was on camera. So I started doing more and more voiceover stuff. It started off with a Hallmark video series, The Emperor's New Clothes, and it was the line that actually got me into the Union was the Emperor's not wearing any clothes. It was based on the fable. And
we need you now.
Right. It was so, we're not going there. It was so simple because at the time it was just playful. I could figure out what this character looked like and I would imagine what they probably sounded like. Because again, we usually get a picture and a little description. So it's, bigger eyes usually mean they're bigger characters and they're sillier and more fun. And then, the more realistic their pieces were, the more realistic I tried to make them. And so it's always just been playing with what I sound like and what I think that thing sounds like. And it's just, for me, it was always just playing. And it sort of kept getting me new work because I got to play as different characters. And then sometimes it was just being me. Chip was very much just me. Started out with one line and they kept adding more and I kept doing my voice again. I was just reading. I was just doing characters, but it wasn't a voice necessarily. It was just who I was.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
So it's a question for all three of you. What's your guys' dream role? Like, if there was a character you could play, no questions asked, which one would it be?
I mean, there's one that always comes to mind for me because I'm as big a geek/nerd as anybody in this building and always have been. Big comic book guy growing up. And there's a character I don't feel like anybody's quite done. There's been some good performance of it, particularly in games and animation. But if there's one character I would love to play, because I think he's the best villain in Marvel, I would love to play Dr. Doom. Doom, to me, is the greatest villain in Marvel, and still don't feel like we've quite gotten... Some of the games and animation stuff, there have been really good performances. But I'm like, oh, Doom, that would be a one for me, I think.
I just want to be in all the things.
I mean, that's
I would like
the real
to do
answer.
all of them. No, but I'm a nerd too. So anything in the Star Wars universe, Star Trek, if they do another something, I don't know. You can like both. You can like Star Trek and Star Wars.
And Doctor Who. I like all three personally.
I don't know Doctor Who all that well.
But it's okay if you wanted to.
Okay, good to know.
Everybody agrees.
Okay. But yeah, and honestly, I would love to do like a new character. Something new that has never been done before. Like my biggest dream goal, whatever, was to be like the next Disney princess. So that's what I want. I want to be the next princess.
I'd vote for you.
Thank you. There's voting involved.
Well,
there might be. I mean, that's how princesses happen, right?
Really?
Right.
I don't. Anyway, not to just second on them, but I would love to be part of the Star Wars universe. There's so many amazing, interesting characters as a part of it. And dark side, light side, droids, aliens, any of the above. It just seems like it'd be so much fun to be involved. And there's not a specific role that I'm like, oh, I really want to play this person. But I just think that there's so much amazing character and story that still needs to be told there. I'd love to be a part of it.
And to piggyback on that, I've actually had the opportunity. I've worked on multiple Star Wars games, so I've gotten to play different Star Wars characters. I did the first one I got to speak Huttese for the entire system, and I loved that. That was amazing. I got to do some Star Trek stuff too. And in fact, I did.
You.
Now you're gonna love this. So, well, you're gonna love this. I don't know about Colleen, but I got to do Star Trek Bridge Crew, the VR games where you played, and so actually in the first one they knew what a fan I was, and I'm obsessed with the Gorn from the original series. The Gorn is like the coolest character ever, and so I'm the Gorn on everything. But they wrote a line for me into the game where I'm looking at this panel on the bridge and it's all torn up in the line. So I did the line and I was like, man, it looks like a Gorn got loose in here. And then I cracked up and they said, we wrote that line for you. And I went, oh, that's amazing. But I got to play a Klingon captain in the second version.
Klingon.
Oh, it was amazing. So Fred Tatasciore and I were both Klingon captains. Nice. And I kind of, because he was in the TNG timeline, I kind of based him on Robert Riley's Gowron. because DS9 was like my show. So, and I met Robert Riley at a Star Trek convention in Vegas like 3-4 years ago. And I told him, I said, introduce myself. I said, I'm a voice actor. I got to play a Klingon in this game. I said, it's not an impression or imitation of you, but it's definitely informed by your performance as Gowron. And he's like, hey, man, that's really cool. Thanks for telling me. Kapla! And I went, Kapla! So I got kapla'd by Gowron. So yeah, and anytime I get to play in that sandbox, because it's my world in my real life. So yeah, all about it.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there.
I have 4 questions. Is that all right?
Sure.
We got time.
Sure. We'll try to answer quickly.
Okay. So for the first
Yes,
one,
no, maybe.
for all 3 of you, do you play any of the Sonic games? And if you do, any of the newer ones, are there any of them that are your favorites?
I have played most of the Sonic games. I still love the original, is definitely my favorite. Of the newer ones, I can't remember what it's called, Sonic Racers, Sonic Racing, maybe Team Sonic Racing. Yeah, that was a really good one. That was a fun playthrough. Yeah, that was you? Yeah, cool.
Now, for Dave and Colleen, if you could, for sake of scenario, if you could have a standalone game of your character, like
Yes.
a Tails or a Knuckles, what would you like to think it would have in it?
Well, since I'm not a game creator, I'm not sure, but I would love to know more of Tails' backstory, and I mean, obviously there would be some inventions galore, which would be fun. You probably know more than I do.
I was going to say Tails would be an amazing upgrade game. Like as you go through, you buy upgrades for whatever you're.
Oh yeah.
That would be my version of Tails. Would be an upgrading game.
I think any Knuckles game, which should be, I keep telling Roger, no, it's Knuckles Frontiers. Sonic, no, Sonic, whatever. Yeah, I think a Knuckles game that was all Knuckles, where Sonic had to do what Knuckles says and help Knuckles to do what the important things are. That would be the game I would want to be in.
And for my last question for Dave, what was it like working on Arcane?
Arcane I've said this a lot of times, Arcane is, I think, the single best thing I've ever been part of. It is next level in every conceivable way. The cast is ridiculous, but the writing, the animation, the story, everything about that show is, to me, the finest animated show ever made. And I was beyond thrilled to be part of that, because we knew when we were recording that it was something special because the writing was so good. When they brought us all together and did a little premiere like 5 years ago when they did the first part of the first season and let us come see it in a theater, we were floored, all of us. And Roger was sitting next to me, actually, because Roger's in it too. So, and I've been friends with Roger for almost 20 years. So Roger and I are sitting next to each other, they're watching this thing, and we're all just like, how can this be this good? Yeah, it's insane. If you haven't seen it, Arcane is ridiculous. Based on League of Legends. Yeah, based on League of Legends, which I'm in the game of League of Legends, but I play different characters on the animated show. But it's phenomenal. Working on it was one of the best things I've ever done.
Okay, that's the 3. I said 4, right?
You did.
Yeah.
So for Colleen, like you were saying about how you would want to do anything, like what are your thoughts on like getting into an indie project? Like someone email you or something or whatever? Like what would your thoughts be on that? Like there's all the new stuff like the Has-Been Hotels and whatnot. Like what are your thoughts?
Love to be on Has-Been Hotel. So I love new projects. I love artists. I love people who are creative. I'm in awe of what people can create. I'm totally open. Here's the little wrinkle. I'm part of the union, so it would have to be a union thing, and there's agents involved. And so if I am able to do it, I would love to. But sometimes I'm restricted by the rules. So
thank you.
But yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey.
We know you.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
First one for Dave and Colleen. I know in Mania, the one zone was called Studiopolis. Is that what the recording studio is still called?
Studiopolis.
Yeah, that's where we record almost all this stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Two, is there any like canceled or unreleased projects you can give some insight on that you might have worked on but didn't get past any phases?
I mean, there aren't any that I'm aware of, and if there were, real honestly, we wouldn't be able to talk about it probably because we're under NDAs for almost everything. And if it didn't come out or there was something, then and I'm just for me, I don't know of any. I don't even if we did,
either,
we couldn't talk about it. I'll tell you right now, I don't know of any. So I'm not just like trying to blur the question, but so I guess the answer is no.
Oh, that's all right. And then three, is there any and I know you do the prologues and everything. Is there any like how Crush 40 does the music? Is there any music videos you guys want to be a part of or something like singing your characters or whatever?
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
We got to sing in Sonic Boom a couple times as Dude, which was ridiculous, but it was so much fun. So yes, I would love that. I really wanted a song for the third movie, but who am I?
Your tails in the movie.
I thought
that's
it would have
who
been.
you are.
I know, but that would have been amazing because Ben Schwartz sings, and so does James Marsden. And I don't know if he just sings, but I'm sure he could figure it out. I just think that would have been amazing. But
yeah, I love when I get to sing. So that was getting to sing as Knuckles in the Sonic thing. It would be so much fun. Although we do occasionally get to sing.
don't do it. Don't do it.
So I guess yes, we would love that.
Yes, to all of it.
By the way, his first con ever.
I know. I met you earlier.
Yes,
Welcome
you
to
can
the
clap.
crazy.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
Doing the whole Sonic thing. So yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi there.
Hello.
This is a question for all three of you. Are there any particular voice lines that you think back to where you think, yes, I absolutely nailed the delivery, or you delivered the words in the right way?
I mean, I'm hoping that applies to all of them. That's the goal, anyway. Is to, I can think of a couple of lines from the prologue, actually, that I really loved just because I thought they were very clear pieces of Knuckles' personality. That one of them particularly you hadn't really seen before, but one was when all the things pop up around him and he looks and he goes, "Oh, ambush, huh? Your funeral." I love that line. And I also love, "I've never needed anyone or anything. I've always been okay by myself. But sometimes," I love that line. Because that's, I feel like, one of the first times we saw Knuckles be vulnerable. And you realize he's the last of the echidnas. He's got his duty to guard the Master Emerald. And he does it, and he's strong. But, maybe he's hurting a little bit. And I thought that was a lovely, lovely little thing to see from him.
I don't have one that I feel like I just nailed that. Because it's always, the performances are ours, but they are informed by everybody else's performances so much. And the writers and the director and everybody else involved. It's not just one person. I do have a story that was kind of the opposite. And this was from Beauty and the Beast, the voice of Chip. Now, the way I always recorded was I would do my lines in a set of 3. I'd do an A, B, and a C of each line. And I would just read it and give them their thing, and then they would give me notes, and I would adjust and try it again. The line was, "His mustache tickles mama." You guys remember the scene probably. It's one of the first things that you hear Chip say. But one of my line readings was, "His mustache tickles mama." And the whole booth started laughing. And I didn't understand why, because I was a 6-year-old boy. And I said, "What's so funny?" And they said, "We'll tell you when you're older." And it ended up becoming a part of a joke later. But that moment was I didn't understand it at all. And they would never tell me. They never did tell me what was so funny about it.
I'll tell you later.
It's a hard question because as actors, we're kind of our own worst critic sometimes. So it's hard to be like, yes, I crushed it. There are those moments, but you don't always, and they don't always pick the take that you think is the best either. And I will have so many moments where I'll be like, oh, I can do that better. Can we do it again? But I will say, the first time I got to see the second movie, they did a screening on the Paramount lot for us, and we were about to do a bunch of press, and I hadn't seen the movie yet. And so I was like, then what if they ask me questions and I can't answer it? So, I hadn't even been given the whole script. I had no idea about anything. So I went to see it with my best friend came with me. We actually told them that she was one of my agents. I'm like, I need someone to come and hold my hand. And my husband wouldn't come with me because he wanted to wait for the premiere. I'm like, I need somebody to come with me. So we told her. Anyway, we lied. But so I'm sitting there with my friend, and we're watching the scene in by the fireplace where Tails gets really, he's like, well, you were weird. Maybe being weird isn't so bad. That whole scene was so beautiful, and I started to cry, and I was like, wow, that was one that I was so proud of that moment in the film and getting to work with Ben, and it was just I don't know, that was a good little scene.
Thank you all.
Thank you. You're all having great questions, by the way.
Wow.
No pressure.
I want to thank all three of you for being part of a legacy of something that has shaped pretty heavily the last 30 years of my life, if not more. And you guys are incredible for that. My questions are specifically for Colleen.
Yeah.
For the process of Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, which we'll all be seeing soon.
So soon.
Is the recording process for the animated characters completely separate from the live actors, or do you have to meet up with them to sync some things up?
I wish we got to meet up with them to do some stuff. Especially the second movie was filmed a lot in Vancouver and Hawaii, and those were. I've never been to Vancouver, but anyway. So they did all the live action stuff first for all three. That was their way to do all three movies. They did all the live action stuff first, and then they did the voices separate. So for the second movie, it was still very COVID time, and my husband was building me a proper booth, but I didn't have it yet, and so I'd been using my closet. We were, I worked for 2 years in my closet. It was kind of crazy. So the first 2 sessions that I worked on the movie, Ben, I just kind of coincidentally, he was in Vancouver, but it wasn't because of the Sonic movie. But he was in Vancouver, I was in my closet in Burbank, and the director was in Hawaii, I think, and everybody else was kind of sprinkled around LA. So we did the whole thing over Zoom, and I recorded on my end those first 2, and I thought, well, surely we're going to redo this, because they weren't recording on their end. I was only recording on my end. Usually they have us our computers talking, and they didn't do that. I don't remember why, but whatever. So I did get to work with Ben because we had, screens. We had figured it out, thank goodness. So I did get to work with him twice, and then I did go into Paramount a couple of times and Sony Studios a couple of times, but never in person with anybody except for a very masked engineer who came in, tapped my microphone, and then ran away. It was really strange, and then I didn't meet anybody in person until any of the red carpet stuff. So then the third movie, I did the whole movie by myself. I got to go to Paramount a couple of times, and but I've done so many pickup things, either on my own or over Zoom too. But I have a proper booth now, so not in my closet, but in my booth at home. A lot of it I've done there. It's kind of crazy, but I didn't get to work with anybody on this one, which is a bummer. But it's still awesome that I get to do it.
I have one more question for you that kind of switches in a different direction.
Yeah.
So Digimon.
Haha.
That was one of in the first wave of localized animes that got really popular in the States. That was right whenever anime was hitting its stride here. What was it like to be part of one of those first localization projects?
So that was my very first anime that I'd ever worked on, and it was my second show. So my very first show was The Kids from Room 402, which was original animation, and we worked together as a group, and we would record first, and they animated to what we did. So Digimon is anime, so you're dubbing English over Japanese, and it's a very different process. I had no idea what I was doing. You hear beeps in your headphones. Because it's already done. It's finished. So they show us the scene and they play it for us in Japanese, and I can hear it in my headphones. And then I've got my script and I've got the screen, and I'm looking and I'm hearing beeps. And on the 4th imaginary beep is when the mouth opens, and that's when you're supposed to start talking. I was so stressed. It was so stressful those first few times because I had no idea what I was doing. And when you go in and you've already booked the job, you kind of have to pretend like you know what you're doing. So, and I didn't. So it was stressful, but also it's a very different aesthetic. Like it's like they have a very different, like there's sounds or efforts or whatever's for almost everything that your character does, which we don't always do. Like I don't make a sound every time I move my head or move my hand or what, we don't as typical Americans we don't do that. But in Japanese anime, they do. So I had to get used to that. And it was a little uncomfortable for me because I was like, did that sound weird? Was that like normal? Like I didn't understand it then. And I was like, wow, you can say huh a lot of different ways. There's like so many different ways to say huh.
Their laughs are super specific.
Laughs too, yes, and all of it is it's just very stylized, and so I had to get used to that too. So there was a huge learning curve for me on that show. But in the end, also we didn't have Pro Tools and all the digital stuff. Like they were doing reel to reel. So if I screwed up, they had to redo the whole thing. It was a lot of I was exhausted after those sessions because my brain was trying to work really, really hard and get ahead of what I didn't know how to do. But it was such a great show, and it's such a beautiful thing that like we got to come back to it about like when we did Try. It was so great to come back to those characters because then I had all these other anime shows under my belt, and I'm like, oh, now I know what I'm doing. She had grown up, and so had I, and so it was just kind of this great little reunion with her. I loved Sora so much. She's such a
She's one of my favorites. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, I'll give you a little, just an additional tag on to that, only because it's related. So I did Gabumon for Digimon Adventures 2020. Now, I didn't know, like when they brought me in, they never played me the original. They just said, let's find a voice for this character. I'm like, okay, great.
You didn't have a reference.
No reference. So, and I figured, it was like 20 plus years ago, so whoever did it probably isn't in the industry or whatever. So we were doing the Twitter takeover, and I put a picture of Kirk and me up, and said, and somebody said, Gabumon. And I went, I haven't announced that yet. I looked at Kirk and I'm like, were you the original Gabumon in Digimon? He said, yeah, why? I'm like, I'm Gabumon now. And we were like, what? So we were laughing and I had no idea. And one day I asked him, we were doing a con somewhere, and I said, what was your Gabumon voice? And he did it for me. And I'm like, oh my God, I could not be more different than that. So I was like, oh, okay, I can see why maybe be like, this might take a little getting used to because I never heard it before. And if I'd known it was Kirk, I would have been like, why didn't you just have Kirk come back?
They replaced everybody.
But you know what? Jamie told me that though.
Yeah.
One day he
Jamie
asked me, he's like, I don't know why we replaced Kirk.
Jamie called me and he said, look, I just want you to know there's another Digimon series coming out, and it was come down from Japan, and they want to replace everybody, and I just want to let you know that we fought for you guys. We really thought it was a better idea to have as many of the originals back as possible, but they said nobody.
Yeah. Had I known it was originally Kirk, I would have said, why isn't Kirk here?
Yeah. But
what am I doing?
Japan,
you don't need me.
Japan said nope.
But so now whenever we do cons together, we both have Gabumon pictures, we're the Gabumen.
The Gabumen.
So we're the Gabumen. Yeah, we're the Gabumen. So yeah, so that was just related to your Digimon question, and it was related to Sonic as well. So I just thought it would kind of
whole tie-in.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom.
Breaking in here for a moment, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention we have Bradley here, who was in Jumanji with the late great Robin Williams. So, do we have any Robin Williams stories at all?
That you can share.
I have so many great memories with Robin. One of my favorite on-set memories was during the monsoon scene when the house fills with water. We filmed that in a wave tank at the University of British Columbia. And yes, we were all in the water for 6 to 8 hour days. My days were a little bit shorter in the water because I had 3 hours of makeup to do. And then I was limited because the mask would break apart after about 3 hours in the water. It just got too waterlogged. And then also because I was a child actor, we were only allowed to be on set physically for 8.5 hours a day. So we had to figure out how to work out school and all kinds of other fun stuff like that. But it was the last day of our second week, supposed to be our last day in that set. and everybody was feeling a little bit worn down, but the kids were the only ones that had to leave. So there was a conversation happening with production and the directors to try to ask our parents and our welfare worker if we could have a little bit of overtime, about an hour, to try to do a little bit more. And normally, that's something that happens probably once or twice per shoot. And it always comes down to numbers. And sometimes it's, parents ask the kids go, yeah, it's fine, and here we go. He heard about that conversation and he cut it short. He said, no, we are coming back. We are done for the day. Everybody's getting out of the water and we're sending these kids home so they can rest. And the only person on the set that could have done that was Robin. Nobody else could have, because we're talking probably $5,000-$6,000 minimum a day just for the location. We've got 150 people all being paid their union rate on crew. A day of shooting was probably easily $150,000. And the only person who could have said no was Robin. Everybody else would have accepted it. And then one of my favorite stories was spending time with him offset. His son was about my age. And there was one day where his son came up to visit, and he invited me to join them for the day. And we went to the zoo, and we went to the park, and we went to a movie, and I got to hang out with this kid and his dad. His dad happens to be Robin Williams, but it didn't matter. It was just a guy being a guy, and he didn't have any characters, he didn't have any mask, he didn't have any of that. He was just an awesome human being. So.
How old were you?
I was 12 years old.
Oh my God.
Or, sorry, just turned 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are great stories. Thank you for that.
And thank you for calling in on that one. But yeah, he was an amazing guy, and very missed. Very missed.
Of course, it's an amazing movie, but we have a few more here. We've got a little bit more time, so let's see what we can fit in.
Perfect.
I was wondering what crossover that you would like Sonic and his family to be in next universe, if it is possible.
Oh, crossovers. That's a good question.
Star Wars, obviously.
Yeah, well, there you go. Oh my God, Sonic Star Wars? Can you imagine that?
Obviously.
That would be
Star
amazing.
I would love to see Sonic Pokemon crossover. Oh. I think you're dealing with animals, you're dealing with creatures. I think there'd be some really cool stuff there. Robotnik and Team Rocket. Come on, it'd be beautiful.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm Megan, sorry.
Hi, Megan.
I understand this is a Sonic Q&A. Although are you guys okay with me talking about Arcane a little?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Of course.
yeah, we're here to talk to you and answer your questions. So
Thank
yeah.
you. So I like Arcane. It's pretty cool. I like the characters. I know that Jinx and Vi have very special characteristics. And who do you guys play in Arcane? I know she might not have.
I am not in Arcane.
Yeah. Who are you guys in Arcane?
I am. I've got multiple characters in Arcane, so.
I think that's just you, Dave.
Yeah, I guess it's just me.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So, who do you play? If that's okay with me asking.
A few characters. Probably the biggest one is Haskell from the town council. He's the one that talks about you trying to fool an old man. That guy.
The old, the little one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the him so right.
The Haskell, yeah. So no, Haskell, he's on the council. Haskell, I was Vern. I was the warden in the prison. I was, I think maybe a couple others, but I mean, Haskell is the main of those characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, because he's in multiple episodes. So.
What characteristics do you like about some of the characters? Like, I don't know, Jinx, Vi, and...
Well, I think the thing I like about all the characters on that is just how well written everything is. There's so much depth to the characters, and there's so much emotional stuff, and so I'll tell you, when we went to that screening thing I was talking about earlier, we were all there together, and one of the characters, the only voice actor who wasn't there, all of us were like, "Who is this woman? She's brilliant." My agent was there sitting with us, and he was also Roger's agent, Yuri's agent. So he was there, and also he was like, "Who is this? I've got to find out." It was Haley Steinfeld. So
what character?
Haley, I think she plays either Vi or Jinx. I think she's Vi actually, but all of us were floored because we're like, I don't know who this is, but she's amazing. Because we all knew each other and we all knew who everybody was. We didn't know who she was, and we were floored by how good she was. But just, I think the thing about it is just all of the writing, it's so believable and so deep, and there's so much emotional connection, and everybody's, I hate to get all accurate, but everybody's motivations make sense. It's very organic in the way that they act and react, and within the context of the story, it all makes sense that the characters should do what they do and behave the way they do. So
yeah, I like the ending. Well, the first season ending. I think it was season or series or.
The first season 2 is just dropped yesterday actually. So
So I haven't really watched a lot of it. I watched the first season. But it's been so long since I've seen it. So, but I'm starting to watch the second one, I think. But I'm going to go through the first episode to the last. So it's easier for me to, know, I guess, what they do and stuff. Do you know if there will be a third season?
I don't know. Again, that's above my pay grade. So I'm not actually in season 2. So I'm not sure. I know that I've been reading some stuff about it recently. They're saying it is by far and away the single most expensive animated show ever produced.
Especially,
So I'm not sure. I wouldn't be the guy that could answer that question for you, but I mean, I'd love to see if there was because I think it's brilliant.
So cool. So I still have to watch the second season, but the first season they kind of ended off with cliffhanger, which is fine. They finally got back up and they started a new episode and then got into a season. I love the show. My sister name is actually Caitlin, but it's not spelled the same way. And she's the one who started watching. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Hi. Just wanted to ask about Bradley. How strong a connection do you have with Julia White?
Not very much at all, actually. He and I talk once in a while, social media or Messenger or something like that. But he actually was the only person that wasn't consistently in the room when we recorded. The Adventures of Sonic and Sonic Saturday, we recorded that as an ensemble. Most of the cast was in the room, and we would just shoot back and forth. Jaleel White, however, was on the East Coast for the most part. He recorded with us when he was out here, or out there in LA, but he recorded out here separately, usually. And he and I have talked a few times since. We run into each other once in a while at things, but I wouldn't say we're super close.
So, for you two, I'm just sorry. It's my first time being.
You're fine.
Nothing to be sorry about. You're doing great.
But do you have any
No, nothing to be sorry about. You're fine.
That's about it.
Okay. Don't be sorry. We're good.
I'll
Thank
tell
you.
you, something that we like to do is we're wrapping up here at Sci-Fi Valley Con. It puts you a little bit on the spot, but and you can pick any of your characters. I know you guys didn't get to spend a lot of time outside the walls here in Altoona. What would your character say about visiting Altoona or Sci-Fi Valley Con? Any character. You can pick whatever character you like.
Thanks so much for having us. Altoona has been great. Altoona's got some of the best chili dogs ever.
Well, I think one of my favorite things about Altoona is no Sonic. But there are a lot of other good chain restaurants here, though, so I enjoyed that.
All right, it'll be hard to beat that. Let's please give him one more hand here. Bradley Pierce.
Thank you, guys.
Dave B. Mitchell.
Thank you so much.
And Colleen O'Shaughnessey.
Thanks, guys.
This is Kari Walgren, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like and subscribe. Plus, remember to have fun and follow your fandom.